What's up, Demi? Today we're finna be reacting to Miyamoto Musashi, the Path of the Loner. Now, seeing this tonight, I was a little interested about it because this year, I went to I'm going to a different I went to the high school this year, and I don't really know anybody in my high school. Not really at all. I don't really know anybody. I've really been on some loner type time. Sitting by myself. Not having no friends for real. Just really been on some real loner type time. And then how do I feel about it? And I don't really, it doesn't really bother me personally, because I just don't, because I'm the type of nigga that, like, well, I don't, like, my mood doesn't depend on whether I'm with people. Like, I can collaborate. So me, like, I'm not really an introvert or I'm not an extrovert either. I feel like I'm just like really just in the middle. Like, I'm not either. You know what I mean? I can be happy and I can have fun by myself and I can be happy with other people too. And that's kind of the thing with me. Like, I don't rely, like, I'm not the type of nigga who have to be with people to be like excited or happy. I used to be like that when I was younger, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, because like when I was younger, like, because it was like, well, it was like people, but it was just like, I was living with, older people. You don't really, it's like, it's a real, yeah, I was living with old niggas. I was living with niggas like fucking old 40-year-old niggas. I was living with old motherfuckers as a kid. So it's like, it's not that much you can really relate to that. So like, when people would come over, like, that would be like the time, that would be my happiest moment when people would leave and stuff like that. I was always so bored and I had nothing to do because, well, at that time, I wasn't really, when I was younger, at that time, I wasn't really too much on YouTube. Well, I wasn't too much. Well, I started getting on YouTube when I was maybe around like 8 or something like that. But it's just like, I didn't really care about, like, I wasn't the type, I'm not really a gamer type nigga. I don't really like games and, stuff like that. I don't really like it too much. You know what I mean? And then so like me, like I needed to be around people for me to like really have fun, because like playing games, I would get bored of that quickly. Watching videos, I would get bored of that quickly. So like I wanted to be around motherfuckers. Like I wanted to be around people. But now, especially in the pandemic, I kind of just got, well, not just the pandemic, but I just got kind of just used to it. I just found things to do. I just binge watch YouTube videos or binge watch shows, and that's kind of how I would just get rid of my boredom. Just really got used to it. And well, I had a cousin who was living here too, so at the time, but he's gone now. But it's just like I just was like, yeah, man, I just found a way. You know what I mean? I just, found a way to stop being bored. And it's just like, now just like, being alone, being in around people, like I can do I can do either one. It doesn't really bother me, to be honest. Sometimes I do get bored, being alone by myself. I be getting bored sometimes. Not talking to nobody. You know what I mean? I got associates or whatever, but I don't really have any type of, niggas who I really like, like in middle school, like I had, well, I get, well, no, I would say that, because in middle school, I kind of like, I sat everywhere. Like, I was sitting where, like, I guess what you would call it, the nerds, popular. I would sit literally anywhere I wanted. I just was sitting, because I had different friend groups from different places, you know what I mean? But this, I don't really have any really friend groups at all, so I just really just be sitting kind of by myself, you know what I mean? Sometimes I can be like, I don't know, it's just like, it's a weird thing. It's not a, sometimes I would like, not even that just bored, I just like maybe watch some YouTube video, but I would like, I'd be thinking like, how maybe like somebody like, damn, niggas probably think, oh, that nigga, a lonely ass nigga right there. You know what I mean? Which is, I guess it's not wrong, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I could, feel bored, and sometimes it's like, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can be enjoyable. It's just one of those things, you know what I mean? But I don't really have a problem with being a loner, but sometimes, well, I'm not necessarily a loner, I really am kind of ideal. I ain't got a talkative personality, but it's just like I don't really have a problem with being alone, but sometimes, I think of like, damn, niggas probably think I'm some fucking weird ass fucking nigga, which isn't wrong either. But you know what I mean? But yeah, the Path of the Loner. I seen this video and I was like, oh, this seems interesting, and I want to check it out. So yeah, we're gonna check it out. Let's get to it.
At the age of 15, Miyamoto Musashi went on Mushashugyo, which means warrior's pilgrimage. During this time of his life, he traveled the land, practicing his skills independently and engaged in a series of duels. After he received Ronin status, he encountered the most challenging opponent he ever faced, Sasaki Kojiro, and killed him.
Oh shit.
After this event,
Was
he
it him?
renounced doing lethal duels. He eventually retired to a cave, where he wrote down his knowledge and wisdom for later generations.
Okay, he was writing books. and
Musashi's
shit.
written works expand on the path of the warrior, which is the samurai way of discipline, focus, restraint, and honor. The path of the warrior is governed by moral and ethical codes that are commonly referred to as Bushido.
So he's basically teaching
Shortly
niggas
before
the
he
way of a
died,
samurai.
Musashi compiled 21 principles on how a warrior should live. These
Okay.
timeless principles, known as Dokodo, can inspire us today to live well.
Okay.
This three-part series elaborates on the 21 principles of Musashi's Dokodo. The first and second part explored the first 14 principles.
What's
This
that?
third and final part further explores the path of the warrior, based on the last 7 principles.
Okay.
Please note, the elaborations in this video are based on existing philosophies, the author's interpretations and reasoning, and are intended to be an inspiration for present-day life.
Okay. The path of the warrior. Maybe we can use this in our regular day life. Let's see.
15. Do not act following customary beliefs.
Okay.
When
Elaborate
we
on
look
that.
at human behavior, we see
Yeah.
the characteristics of a herd animal. Many people slavishly follow the norm, not necessarily because it's the best thing to do, but because everyone does it.
Yeah.
Musashi was
Follow
aware
them.
of the dangers of blind obedience, and probably experienced the unskillfulness of leaders in his time. These could be the leaders of a so-called Koryu, which is a Japanese school of traditional arts, but also politicians, and even the emperor himself. When we carelessly follow customary beliefs, we throw away our common sense, rational thinking capacity.
Okay, so I get it. Don't follow customary beliefs, like what people think is the. And I really agree with it. Don't follow what people think is necessarily like what's supposed to be believed in, or what people want you to believe in, or what's the right way, or what's the normal way. You know what I mean? If you got something that you believe in, and you really serious about that shit, do it that way. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I just had a conversation with my uncle and stuff. And we was talking about basically school and stuff. And he was basically trying to say, stuff like, like school, like I was saying, like, he's basically talking about like how school and stuff, like, and how that's basically how the world, the people view you depending on your degrees, depending on if you graduate, and which is that true. And I was asking him, so basically, what if you graduate or your degrees or whatever you got, that means that depends on. I don't know what I'm about to say, but he was basically saying that people view you, like, and especially with jobs and a whole bunch of things, people view you on what you did. I mean your degrees and how your school. That's how people view you based on school. Doesn't mean that like you're not successful. Because I feel like I was basically trying to say to them, like, just because you didn't like finish school, or don't have crazy degrees in school, doesn't mean you can't be successful or you're not successful. But he's saying the way how most people view it is that going to college and graduate high school, like, that's success. Like, if you don't graduate high school, like, that's a failure. Even though somebody can drop out of high school and achieve something else, you know what I mean? And have a plan and achieve something else without going to school. But the way people see it, like how people see it in the normal ways are, you're supposed to go to college because that's how they got taught growing up. So that's why parents nowadays say that, because that's how they got growing up. Because I was just watching Pair to Pair podcast. I mean, not Pair to Pair. Let's Keep It a Buck podcast, and they was just saying that too. It was like what Damo was saying, like when they was younger, like that's what like their parents was telling them that, I mean, like stuff like playing those video games ain't finna they not finna get you no money, which was true. You wasn't getting money off playing no video games, and that's what parents say to their kids now. You know what I mean? Even though, nah, nigga, you can get a lot of money playing video games, you know what I mean? Just don't follow the social norms, because at the end of the day, there's more opportunities, more things to do, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to follow what everybody does, you know what I mean? But if you go a certain other direction, have a plan, you know what I mean?
Some cases are morality in the process. Something being the norm doesn't mean that it isn't evil. We can
Yeah,
find
that's facts.
countless examples of this in history, in which people collectively engage in evil, convinced that what they do is somehow justifiable. The events during the
It's
Second
funny because I was having this conversation with my uncle again. He was talking about, because we was talking about like in Africa. He basically, I remember I was telling my teacher, because my teacher was basically saying that if you buy and the stuff that's made in Thailand and Africa, because in Africa, they still got forms of slavery in Africa, and in Thailand and China, they still got child labor over there. You know what I mean? You're basically supporting that, and I've been knew about that, but it's like I don't know what you think. If you pay for it, you support it. You know what I mean? I guess. You know what I mean? I guess because you pay money for it, so I guess you are a certain way in supporting it. And he's basically saying, but it's kind of different. You know what I mean? It was like he was saying, like in Africa, basically, like slavery is just like that's part of their culture, their religion. Like in some places, like he's like he was basically saying, who are we to tell them how to do what's their beliefs in their culture? And I was basically saying that just because it's your culture and just because that's your religion. I mean, because like in some people's culture, I mean, depending on where you were born and your families and the hierarchies depends. Like if you were a peasant, like you might be a slave, and just because that's your culture doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? I was basically trying to tell him that. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, I think he agrees with what I was saying. He
that
agrees
people
with
who
it,
blindly
but he was
follow
just trying
the
to tell me.
dominant narrative are capable of doing horrifying things.
Yeah.
Another example is the general attitude towards drinking in Western culture. While the use of narcotics is frowned upon, drinking alcohol is institutionalized and considered acceptable, fun, and social, even though its effects can be as destructive, if not even more, as using narcotics. It's so normalized that it's the only drug that we have to justify not taking, even when alcohol consumption contributes to approximately 3 million deaths each year, according to the World Health Organization. Hence, customary beliefs aren't always the best guidelines. Musashi, who has lived as a ronin as well as a hermit, spent significant amounts of time separated from society and its norms. One of the benefits of such solitude is that it shields us from outside influences and lets us watch the world from a distance. This makes it easier to independently decide what's beneficial to our lives and what isn't. 16. Do not collect weapons or practice with weapons beyond what is useful. Miyamoto Musashi carried a long and a short sword, not because he wanted to show off his weaponry, but because he was skilled in fighting with two swords, and carrying two swords was the way of the warrior. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi explains that every weapon has unique characteristics. The companion sword, for example, is preferable in confined spaces or when you're close to your opponent, as opposed to spears and halberds that are best used on the battlefield. So even though there's a wide range of choices and functionalities when it comes to weaponry, Musashi advises us not to collect or practice with weapons beyond what's useful. We can see this as a metaphor for everyday life. One of the traps that many ambitious people fall into is that they don't stick with the essentials that get the job done. They engage in unnecessary activities, make unnecessary investments, spend unnecessary amounts of time networking with people without making any significant progress. The inability to clearly define what we need to achieve our goals and stick with doing what needs to be done is a recipe for failure. Sometimes.
That's not so easy. Some people, they always find themselves, and even me, I'm a victim of it too. Always finding yourself not being consistent with things. I'm trying to work on that. Working out. I'm very inconsistent with working out. I'm trying to be more consistent with that. You know what I mean? I'm being more consistent with YouTube. I'm trying to be. You know what I mean? But it's like, I'm always had a problem. Even right now, I still have a problem with like being consistent with things. I want to be more consistent with things, and I'm gonna try to be more consistent with things. But that is an issue with me and with a lot of people, man. I mean, doing things that don't need to be done, and just like, I seen one guy, what did he say? He said one thing. What did he say? He said something. A lot of people give up something for what they want now than when they want in the future, or something along those words. And that's true. Like, a lot of people, like they want to sleep in, but now they want to sleep in, so they give up working or doing whatever they got to do. So, you know what I mean? That will help you in the future, and they give up that for what they want now, and that affects you.
This involves ruthlessly
And
cutting
I
out
can
the
relate
elements
to that.
that, despite their inherent value and usefulness, are useless in the context of our pursuit. However, Musashi also argues that we shouldn't get too attached to one particular way or method either. The samurai practiced with a variety of weapons, from swords to sticks, and knew the abilities and characteristics of each weapon they used, which made them flexible fighters that could be deployed in different kinds of battles. I quote, "You should not have a favorite weapon. To become over-familiar with one weapon is as much a fault as not knowing it sufficiently well. You should not copy others, but use weapons which you can handle properly.
So basically
It is
saying
bad
use,
for commanders
don't
and
have a
troops
favorite weapon,
to have
just use
likes and
whatever weapon
dislikes.
is the most
These
useful
are
in that
things you
situation that
must
you in.
learn thoroughly." End quote. So, being successful is a delicate process, and Musashi seems to point to the golden middle path between having a lack of focus and being too fixated and attached to one thing. 17. Do not fear death.
Oh, that's not a thing you
The
can
awareness
control, I
of
don't
death
think.
was an essential part of being a samurai. Students of the sword were trained to fight duels to the death. By being subjugated
Damn,
to
dude.
relentless practice,
Shit.
they were made ready to fight battles and to be
Okay, that
routinely
makes sense.
faced with death. Generally speaking, Musashi stated, the way of the warrior is the resolute acceptance of death. End quote. Truly accepting death.
But I guess
means
how you can relate to that now is at the end of the day, you only got one life. So I'm not relating this to death, but just like, and I need to take this advice, for myself. But like, I guess not even to fear death, but to fear anything. Whatever you want to do, don't fear that. You know what I mean? Go to that. Keep on pushing, push that. You know what I mean? Don't sit up there and and because you scared this gonna happen or this, that, and the third. No, nigga, do that. You got one life, bro. As far as we concerned, we don't know what happens after this. You don't know what happens. We don't know it all. So far as we concerned, and the only thing I can prove is that we got one life, bro. You better maximize this to the fullest. I know I'm saying this to y'all, but I'm saying this to myself at the same time. You know what I mean? You gotta push that shit.
Not fearing
Gotta
death.
push it for real.
And when we don't fear death, we won't give ground when our lives are threatened in battle. Thus, on the battlefield or in a duel, the acceptance of death is empowering. But how about everyday life? Even though most of us are probably less prone to getting our skulls crushed by a long sword compared to those who
Absolutely.
lived in 17th century Japan, death is still lurking in the shadows everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Life isn't a fairy tale. We all die, and we could die anytime. Yet many of us let the fear of the inevitable generate unnecessary anxiety. This is unfortunate because as long as we're still alive, we're not dead. So in no way it hinders us. But when we're dead,
as long as
we're
we're
not
alive,
alive,
we're not dead.
and we simply don't know what it's
what'd he
like.
say?
As we're still alive, we're not dead. So in no way it hinders us. But when we're dead, we're not alive, and we simply don't know what it's like. So we cannot judge whether or not it's a bad thing to die.
Yeah, but
Maybe death is the portal
the
to
mind
something
wanders,
much more
when you think
enjoyable
about it, because
than
you don't
life.
know.
Maybe not. But
Yeah,
if death
maybe not.
means simply the absence of life, we're at least liberated from all of life's sufferings. In short, it's pointless to worry about death because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Welcome to Steady. My name is Shaquille O'Neal. If you're looking for a job, you've come to the
Shut
right
up,
place.
Shaq.
18. Do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs for your old age.
What do you mean by that?
It
I don't
may
get
be
that.
clear by now that Musashi was a minimalist. He lived for honor, victory, perfecting his skill, and contributing to humanity by sharing his wisdom. He fought duel after duel, knowing that he could die at the sword of his opponent. He tells us not to seek to possess either goods or fiefs for old age. In the modern day, this could translate to sacrificing our time and energy now in exchange for possessions, money, and investments that we can enjoy when we're old. He doesn't say that we shouldn't be concerned with old age at all. From learning about his life, I would say that Musashi, despite repeatedly having walked on the edge between life and death, was quite concerned with the future, including the possibility of longevity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have cared about honor or leaving a legacy. So, to find a deeper meaning behind this lesson, we may want to turn to Buddhism again for philosophical substance.
Okay.
The Buddha isn't against acquiring wealth,
Buddha.
as long as we acquire it in wholesome ways and use it for good. But running after wealth takes a lot of effort and can exhaust us and even destroy our health and overall well-being. So even though there's nothing wrong with wealth, we may ask ourselves if achieving it is the best pursuit available.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing because a lot of people who are have a lot of money, they're not the happiest people. You know what I mean? Because they're always chasing it. Like I hear a lot of people say, I don't know if it's true, but I have people saying it all the time. Like a lot of people, like billionaires and stuff, like they're not happy a lot because they're billionaires. The reason why they got there because they always want more. They always want that next thing. So a lot of billionaires just like, they don't really like celebrate their accomplishments. They accomplish something cool. You know what I mean? This is from what some guy said that he was talking about with billionaires, whatever. Like, okay, that's cool. All right, what's on to the next? They don't take time to, celebrate themselves and this, that, and the third. Nah, they on to the next, and they on to the next, and they on to the next. You know what I mean? And they always on to the next that. They don't take time to celebrate and be happy. You know what I mean? They just, and I'm not saying this is what this guy was saying. And I can believe it, and that's a lot of people, not even just billionaires, just a lot of people in general, chasing something, don't chase something, if you want to chase riches, cool, but be happy while you're doing it. Don't chase rich, because what's the point though? What's the point of chasing something? Not even just riches, but just chasing something in the point that you're not going to be happy with. What's the point? I feel like if you're going to chase something, be happy while you're chasing it. You know what I mean? Don't chase something because, okay, yeah, you wanted it, okay, you thought it was cool, and then you end up, because sometimes, people, they do like it, but they end up losing that passion because just like, they just have a passion of succeeding instead of enjoying what they want to get done or enjoying the process or just enjoying anything of it at all. You know what I mean?
Instead, we might want to invest our lives in developing the mind. In Musashi's case, this pursuit was embodied by the perfection of his swordsmanship. But there are other ways available that could potentially be far more fulfilling as well as reliable than the accumulation of wealth. Instead of trying to enter old age as rich as possible, a Buddhist might focus on developing a sense of contentment with the present moment instead. Because if we can be content with little, we can retire with a small pension. 19. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Following Buddha as a spiritual teacher.
I agree with that. You know what I mean? A lot of niggas, well, it's a lot of people out there who, they don't, the only time, like me personally, I don't necessarily pray to God, me personally. I was the type of nigga who was like, I never prayed to God, I never did the type of things. I never like kind of, I still do kind of believe in God, but just like, well, it's not kind of, I still do think there's some God out there. You know what I mean? I don't know about the whole Jesus and the Bible thing. I don't know about it. It's a whole mystery on my head about that. I don't know much about that, but that's a different topic. But I don't, but whatever. But I was the type of nigga, like, of course, like, just a little shit, like, if I wanted to, like, I would be like, like, if I had a test or something, and like, I was like, damn, please God, please help me pass, or some shit like that, or something like that, and that's just like, goddamn. I used to, and then one, I don't know, I used to think, I was like, and then one day I just stopped doing that, because I never wanted to keep doing that, because it was just like, at the end of the day, like, I only talk to you or try to call you when I need help, isn't that kind of petty? It's like a friend who only like call you whenever he needs something from you, type stuff. You know what I mean? So just like, and plus I just don't. I don't know why I don't. Should I pray to God? I don't know. I just don't. I don't know what I'm praying to. That's my thing on it. My thing on praying to God. I guess because you gave me these things or whatnot. You gave me life or whatever. But I just don't know what I'm praying to. Why I'm praying. I just don't know. That's why I just don't do it. I don't know much about anything, so I don't know why I'm praying because I don't know anything. As far as I'm concerned, I think I was just dropping into this world, and yeah, I just don't know much about it, so I just don't do it. That's just it with me.
Or believing in God or other deities doesn't mean that we aren't responsible for our own lives.
Yeah,
there are many religious and philosophical views on why we exist on this planet. Some say that we're here to serve God or multiple gods. Others say that our lives are nothing more than a cosmic joke and that our existence is entirely pointless. Some claim that the course of our lives is written in the stars. Others claim that we have free will and that our lives are not predetermined. Whatever the truth
I
might be,
don't know.
we're still
I swear I
confined to what our senses perceive.
Yeah.
When we look at the nature of human existence from our own viewpoint, we see that we do have agency. Moreover, we're responsible for what we do and don't do. Now, what fortune gives us is beyond our control, but we do control how we handle what fortune, or God for that matter, presents to us. This human ability to choose is an inherent part of most religions. The Christians have their 7 virtues, the Muslims have their 5 pillars, and the Buddhists have their 8-fold path. These guidelines and precepts all imply that it's up to us to choose the right path, despite the circumstances. So we can pray to a deity for help, hoping that this will change the unwanted circumstances. But does it truly work that way? We better not count on it. A much better investment is to focus on our own strength, wisdom, and resilience, so we can deal with the situation at hand, no matter how dreadful. At the end of the day, we are responsible for our own lives.
You're responsible for your life, you're responsible for your actions.
20. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. The way of the warrior is one of honor, meaning that preserving honor is more important than preserving one's life. But honor is a complicated and subjective concept, which differs from culture to culture. Roman Catholic missionary Francis Xavier was one of the first Western people to visit Japan, where he arrived in the year 1550. He described how the Japanese valued honor as well as warfare and weaponry. They felt superior to all nations in, and I quote, military glory and valor, and honored everything that concerned war, end quote. How the Japanese valued honor as well as warfare and weaponry. They felt superior to all nations in, and I quote, military glory and valor, and honored everything that concerned war, end quote. More recent accounts tell us about the spirit of Bushido of the Japanese soldiers who fought during the Second World War, for whom dying for the emperor was the greatest honor. Surrendering to the enemy, however, was considered an act of cowardice. I quote, those who had surrendered to the Japanese, regardless of how courageously or honorably they had fought, merited nothing but contempt. They had forfeited all honor and literally deserved nothing. End quote. At the end of the day, the way we handle honor depends on personal and cultural preferences. If we think that honor is more important than life, then it's worth dying for. But if we don't care about honor, we probably choose to live over the preservation of it. According to Musashi, however, the value of honor exceeded life and death. 21. Never stray from the way.
Never stray from the way. Honor is more important than life. It depends on what you think honor. I mean, what's the definition of honor? I'm gonna look it up. I know, but I want to look it up. What's the definition of that? I'm gonna fucking kiss her anime right now. What the fuck? What the fuck? Honor. High respect, Greek streaming. To what is right or to a commendable standard of conduct. Look, I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know if I have honor. I mean, everybody has honor something. To a point, I agree. But this next one says, never stray from the way. That's facts.
The path of the warrior is one of extreme determination, on which there's little room for deviation. Musashi's way was the way of the sword, which he dedicated himself to completely and transcended everything else, including life and death.
Do not stop.
Now, the degree of commitment of those who walk the path of the warrior can be considered extreme, looking at it from a modern Western viewpoint. These days, true commitment seems rare, as most of us are consumers in a throwaway society, going from pleasure to pleasure, instead of choosing a more difficult path of sacrifice and restraint at the service of a higher goal, even if this higher goal could be the quality of our own life and well-being. But still, if we truly want to get something done, something significant, we have to commit to a certain degree. It's difficult to get any serious work done when we aren't dedicated. This applies to business, relationships, creative projects, or a spiritual path. It applies to mastering any skill, from cooking to playing an instrument, but also to conquering bad habits and addictions. Musashi's life is a testimony of what we can accomplish if we fully, wholeheartedly commit to a goal. In his case, sword fighting. Musashi fought more than 60 duels, many of which were to the death, and he won all of them. Furthermore, he left a legacy for centuries to come, and he is honored to this day.
Hey, that nigga was.
Thank you for watching.
That was a good video. That was a good video. I like the way that nigga lived his life though. The way he lived his life. I mean, he lived his life. I mean, the nigga lived his life, like you said, on one straight, on one path. You know what I mean? You know, with honor. You know what I mean? One straight, one path, and he got his skills up. You know what I mean? He trained, and he lived his life. You know, which I mean, the way he lived his life was. I'm not saying you should go out there and kill people, but like, you know, you should take that as you know, and me too. I'm not deaf with me. You take that as motivation. You know what I mean? Like, especially that last one. I really resonate with that last one. That's the one I really like resonate. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, with me, it's kind of like right for the longest, I was just like, because I had no type of really hobbies, honestly, except for basketball. So my whole like since I followed, I guess like I just assumed I was going to the NBA. I don't think I ever put in work that resembled that I was going to go to the NBA. I don't know why I thought I was going to go to the NBA. I don't know why I thought that. But that was the only hobby necessarily of mine. So I said, okay, I like that. And the highest goal is to go to the NBA. So that's just, even though I just like, and as time went on, I started to realize, okay, well, I started, you know, I just thought it was going to happen. I don't know why. I just thought it was going to happen. I was being delusional and just thought it was going to happen. I thought one day I was going to really just put in the crazy work and get real better and this, 10, and third. I never did. I just thought one day, okay, yeah, one day I'm going to. One day I'm just going to go crazy. Never happened. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know why. I just was living the real delusional thing. And then, especially this pandemic really helped me. Like, this pandemic was like, that was when I was like serious about like really getting started on YouTube. I was like, all right, I'm really finna get started because this is something else that I was like, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was entertaining. I like making YouTube videos, and now I feel like I'm on that path. You know, I want to be more consistent. You know, I want to get better at it. I want to improve, and I just want to keep on making videos. And I enjoy it. You feel what I'm saying? I do enjoy it. You know, it's fun. I want to say, y'all, you know, thank y'all. You know, I got 10 subscribers now. You know, we on our way. You know what I mean? 10 people subscribe to me. I fuck with it. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I fuck with y'all. I fuck with y'all, some cool niggas out there. You know what I mean? What he said in this video. Whatever you gotta do, straighten away. I'm going to do that. I definitely need to do that. Y'all do that. And let's go up together, y'all. Let's go up together. All right. Oh, peace.